My name's Allyson. I'm 64. Going to be retiring in a year, hopefully, if I can afford to. I live in my tiny home, Daisy, with my dog Tucker, who's 5. And we are just beyond happy with the choice to live tiny. So welcome to Daisy. This is my couch, my guest bed, and since I'm almost 64 and retiring in a year or so, planning ahead for the future, this will be my downstairs bed. So it's made out of IKEA shelving units. There's 2 shelving units laid on their sides, and they're open all the way through. There are baskets that get pulled out. And they're full of, this is Tucker's basket, full of his things. I have hobbies in here, I have shoes at the end, and so on. But it's 2 levels deep, so I have 8 baskets. So on top of the bed is a 6-inch, or maybe it's 8-inch thick Tempur-Pedic foam mattress, which is extremely comfortable. It's actually better than the one in my bedroom. And we have regular pillows for backrest, and of course my stereo system is at the back there. The windows open wide with screens. I made all the curtains in here, and that's a souvenir from one of our trips to Bali. On this side of the living room, I have a bookcase that has got over 150 books in it that I have not yet read, that are going to be what I most enjoy about retirement, I'm sure, though I did read 100 books last year. And I have sole source of heat is a oil-filled radiator, and my son sanded up and colored that piece of wood, so I have a little coffee station, place to put my coffee. And then my favorite piece of furniture. This is my leather scan design chair with a flip-up footstool, and the back goes down. There's a dial at the side, you can turn it down. And also the headrest moves. So it's ideal for having a nap. So I have 9 windows in here, and as a way of saving money at the beginning, I started collecting windows. So when I'd see one on sale on Facebook Marketplace or the local used goods store, I would pick them up. And that saved me a tremendous amount of money. And when I had the general idea of building the home in my head, and when it came time to actually plan it out, we just made sure that the windows were incorporated into the design that I had made up. So this picture I inherited from my dad, and it's a drawing, colored in drawing that was made of Victoria back in 1859. For some reason my dad had it, though we always lived in Vancouver. And when he passed on, I inherited it. So it almost seems like telling the future that I have this and I now live in Victoria. This is something I made in a women's woodworking class when I wanted to learn how to use the tools that I would need to build the house. And so that was my first attempt at anything to do with building. And then this is my office. It's got a stapler and paper clips and pens. Everything that I need to do with paperwork is in there. I call this my little music room because I have all the cords for the music, a teeny tiny little speaker that has amazing sound for the size of it, headphones, extensions, more headphones, all of those things, and I keep them just in this little box. This countertop I love. This is probably the second favorite thing in the house. It's made out of recycled glass. So there's the French blue water bottles. There is green Perrier bottles. There is brown beer bottles. Red, I'm not sure where from, but they're all recycled glass bottles from a local area that a craftsman has put together with resin to make these beautiful countertops. I have 2 bar stools. They happen to be the perfect size for tables. So if I have a few people over and I don't want to pull out the regular table, I just pull these out and they eat off these. This is an old doctor's cabinet that I found for cheap. I pull it out and I can wheel it down that way to become a table for in front of the couch. I store my computer and my iPad there. It's got this handmade funky world map painted on wood that I repurposed from my coffee table when I lived in an apartment. So the whole thing is full of your sort of dried goods on the inside. I was a home stager and I supplied all the furnishings for a house for sale. So if I could furnish a 4-bedroom home with everything down to a hand towel in the bathroom. And I found it incredibly draining, both physically, emotionally, and financially, to manage all this stuff and move it constantly. So I decided to become a consultant instead. And I sold all that furniture and belongings. It felt incredibly good. It was so freeing. I felt like a huge weight had come off my shoulders. At the same time, I was thinking about what I'm going to do for retirement coming up. At that time, I think I had 7 years until I was going to be 65. And I started to panic a little bit because I've always worked for companies that didn't offer a pension plan, and I hadn't saved anything. My rent was very high, and I knew that if I wasn't working, I wouldn't be able to afford it. So at the same time, I saw probably a YouTube about tiny home living and was just mesmerized. I just went, oh my God, this is what I need to do. This is me. And everybody's going, oh yeah, no, that's not going to happen. You won't be able to do it. I don't think you'll like it. All these people that had their opinions on what might work for me. And I didn't listen. And I think the biggest thing I learned was when you're making such a big change like that, yes, do look at the bigger picture, but in order to actually do it, you need to do tiny baby steps. So break it down into manageable chunks. If I thought about how much work and coordination and money would have gone into building this, I might have been scared off. But once I recognized I could manage it, if I broke it into smaller pieces, had help with certain things, like all the professional things like power and electricity and propane and plumbing, then with the help of a carpenter who was willing to teach me, I could do this. And I did. And some people are still amazed that I did it. And honestly, sometimes I'm amazed that I did it. But it's doable. Just do it. So the kitchen has tons of storage. I didn't have any drawers built into this for lack of time. So what I bought was an old-fashioned filing cabinet, the old wood ones that had the index cards in them. And that's my cutlery, tinfoil, things like that. I have the eating utensils just in a tray on top of that. Just the usual garbage managed to fit underneath. And then this one is sort of the coffee, the dog food, the other trays, kettle, jarred food that's stored. And I have more jar food here. Very deep sink, which I planned on because I want to be able to wash this guy. And he hates having a bath, but it's just the right size for him. So my stove is a Magic Chef. And originally it was that lovely mustard yellow, which didn't go with anything. So I had spray painted it white with high heat paint, and it would start discoloring. It'd start going brown from the high heat and the burning. I phoned a few companies to see if they could sandblast it and repaint it for me, and they said, nope, once those things are done in the factory, that is the permanent color. So my solution was to spray paint it with a high heat black gloss. And I do have to do it every couple of months because it chips quite easily. But at least it looks nice, it looks new. And I also have the oven, which is very finicky. You have to learn a lot about those ovens, how to use them, because it always burns too hot. Have the usual fan. And I did eventually fork out for a small microwave. It's very low power, so it takes quite a lot more time to cook things or heat things up than a regular one, but it's perfect for the space. And then I have some of my tin collection. Some of the things I've canned. Last year I did peaches and blackberry jam from my area. I walk around with the dog and collect them up. And then just open shelving storage for the rest of the things. So this side of the kitchen, I have on top 4 wood boxes from Michael's that I painted, and they all have balsa wood signs on them saying what's in them. So I've got computer electronics, crafts, paperwork, and cooking books and things. So that's good use of space. And then in here is my washer dryer. Though, to be honest, I would not buy a washer dryer again because it takes too long to dry. It takes about an hour, hour and a half to do a load, which is smaller anyway, but then it takes twice as long to dry it. So I tend to hang everything outside. And below that is my tool section and my laundry materials. Extra bedding is in that cupboard. Now this is a Dometic fridge. It is the RV fridge, and it's actually running off of electricity at the moment. It does have sufficient-ish freezer space, but not always. The fridge itself is fair size, and I always know when the power's out because these lights that are so bright and shine at night are out. And this is part of the stair system, but it's a closet. I've got some outdoor coats here, my tea towels, and my storage for Tupperware and drainers and strainers, and my all-important fire extinguisher. These originally, when I had the stairs built in April of this year, I was worried about either myself or Tucker slipping on them, so I bought these mats, and there was 2 of them. And I found that I was rearranging the mats all the time. They were slipping off the step. So I took them off, and I thought, since we can't put doors on these because they're not wide enough, why don't I use those as a way to keep the dust and dirt off the things and also make it a little more streamlined. Okay, so these are my stairs. So the bottom 2 pull out. So you've always got them out of the way, and they don't you don't trip over them, basically. That was a big concern. Also wanted this stair to be usable as a side table if I wanted. I tend to, when I'm cooking or doing some crafts, I tend to use these now as well, so they're another bit of surface. I've got my radio, which I'm constantly listening to CBC radio, and then the stairs up to my bedroom. And here's another aspect of security, a handrail. So when you're going up, you can hold on there, and you can hold on to the oak handrail. So this is my sleeping loft. I have a double bed with a really nice mattress and also a 3-inch foam topper on top. So it's the ultimate in luxury. I built some hanging rails here as a closet, and I got this recently to use as a bedside table. When I got it home, I realized it's actually a book rack, and this is a slider thing to hold your books upright, but I use it this way as a bedside table. I have 2 windows, and I made sure both were egress windows, so that means that if there was an emergency on either side of my house, I could get out on either side safely. Smoke alarm and carbon monoxide detector, and we have a lovely view of the woods from both sides. Well, I went from a big house with a family and a husband to getting a divorce and living with my kids in an apartment. And then the kids moved out, so live by myself in an apartment. And there's just so much room. It's like, I come home, I read, I cook, I do other things, but what's all this space? What do I need it all for? And it's so expensive. It's $1,200 a month for a one bedroom. I mean, that's cheap now for Victoria, but at the time, that was the going rate. And I just thought there's got to be a better way to live, enjoy your surroundings and make the best use of the space you have. And only have around you what you love, what you need, and not necessarily what you want, because there's always got to be something that you want. Otherwise, you've got nothing to aim for. So yeah, then I started selling everything like crazy, had garage sales, gave stuff away, kitted out my kids with furniture. They still got all my china cabinet and dining room table. And so it suited them. They got all this furniture that they didn't need to go buy. And I never, ever hesitated. I thought, okay, I'm gonna have to wait a little bit to save some more money to buy more timber, or things are slowing down, or I can't get the carpenter here at the time that I want him to be here. But it all worked out, and I couldn't be happier about where I live. I got awesome landlords. I pay a rent for the space. They supply water, and it's from a cistern, so there's a proper pump on it, so I have great water pressure, unlimited electricity. And I don't have Wi-Fi, which I don't need because I've got 20 gigs on my phone. And I don't have a TV, which I don't want. I have a small iPad, and I download Netflix at work for free. Come home, and then some evenings I'll watch some Netflix. Most of the time I read, or I do a project, or I sew, so it's pretty laid-back lifestyle. And of course, we go walking, because I live in a wonderful neighborhood. And it took a lot of work to downsize. It took a lot of work to build, and a lot of money. But I own property. Not property, I own this home. I rent the space to live in it. And it's probably been the best experience of my life. There's a freedom in owning only what you need, and having a place that is totally your own and is a sanctuary. And that's what this is for me. Daisy is my sanctuary. This is my little bathroom. I want to make it as small as possible because I didn't want to waste any square footage in the main living. So my door is a regular door with glass panels, but it didn't work with the barn railing system. So what I did was I put wheels on the bottom of the door, and I made handles from a leather belt, and then I just put a little bar across the top so the door doesn't fall out and knock you unconscious. So that works really well. I have an RV toilet. My landlord has a septic tank, and it's been run close to me, but not all the way. So I have about 50 feet to walk with the bottom part of that toilet once a week to empty it, which is my least favorite job. But it's an easy system. I have all kinds of recessed storage built into the gaps between the wall, and also this for my immediate storage needs. A small narrow sink that came from Home Hardware with storage. And this was my mom and dad's old butler's, they called them butler's tray, and they had handles here and here, and you carry it like that. And so we put mirror in order to make it a feature in a mirror. So my shower pan is a galvanized tub, and I couldn't afford the chrome hoop because it's round, So I bought a $5 hula hoop and used some wire holders to hang the hula hoop. And then I've got 2 shower curtains, wide sticky tape together in the middle that come round and encircle me for a shower. And that works wonderful. So this is outside of my house. I have double French doors that, of course, I painted pink. And then we have the double screens to keep the bugs out. This was just a tall porch originally when I first moved in, and then I realized because it's so tall, the wind and the rain and everything were blowing in. So I gathered up these they're not patio doors, French doors, and hung them around the porch to create a protected enclosed space. On this one I hung shelves, and I put all my succulents here, so it's a bit like a greenhouse for them. And there are all my outdoor shoes. So this is a tile that my son painted for me. It's got a daisy on it because she's called Daisy, and it says home. And so it's something I treasure because it's one of the first things I got for my home. So this is the garden, and when I first arrived here, there was some gravel put down. I'm on quite a slope, so things are slightly slanted everywhere. And I had to find a way to keep Tucker inside without running off, because he's one of those dogs that chases everything. So I gathered up a bunch of dog kennel fencing, joined them all up together, and then I planted or wove in bamboo poles to keep the deer from jumping the fence, which is only 3 foot high, into my garden. So that's worked perfectly. They haven't crossed it, and keeps him in the house or in the garden and protects all my plants. My hot water on demand, EcoTemp, is in here, which is an insulated area. I've also got storage that goes all the way to the back, and I have a freezer. I like to pre-cook meals and put them in the freezer so that in the morning I can take a meal out for the night, and when I get home I just heat it up. That was one of the projects I was working on during COVID, was refurbishing a doll's house. So I've got that to find a new home for. I use propane tanks for my hot water on demand and my stove. So I only have to refill them probably 4 times a year. At Costco, it costs about $15. So that's really cheap. And I store them in that another shed I built. Living tiny helps you spend more time outside. It doesn't force you outside because you hopefully have made your home a beautiful, relaxed setting. But because you're outside and because you're in nature, then you get more opportunity, I think, to actually go outside and experience it. I've set up a really nice garden area for myself and my friends and family when they come to visit, and we spend a lot of time sitting out there, eating, drinking, laughing, and then we'll go for a walk in the neighborhood. So thank you everyone for showing an interest in my home, my Daisy, and my little dog Tucker. And I'd be happy to, if anybody wants to reach out to me with any questions, how to get started, what to do, I'd be happy to answer anybody's questions because I'm such an advocate of tiny home living. And I think it's the best thing I've ever done in my life. So thank you.